here in silence, nowhere to start. There is too much in my heart. Why are the most important things the hardest to say? Every single time I try, I just look into your eyes. I get lost in you, and I can't find my way. Now the words are coming slow, but out loud they just sound hollow. No, these words just aren't enough. Why can't I tell you of my love? So I'll simply hold your hand, and I hope you understand that my love for you is real. I just can't tell you how I feel. Suddenly a glance is meet, and my heart begins to beat. Black and white, there is no gray. Softly I begin to say, you are the twinkle in my eye. Why do I feel so shy when I'm around you? Please do not look the other way. I have 3 words I need to say before I'm through. I love you. Thank you everybody for being here. I made one crucial mistake today, and that was having Jen play before me, and it's just a bad idea. So, but can we have another round of applause for her? She did so good. Also, thank you to the Hive for having us. We're really excited, and we'll let you see the rest of the show.
Thank you for coming to Smooth Grooves in the Spoken Word. For the next 20 minutes, I'm going to be taking you on a little journey into some of my poems and songs. The song I just played is called How I Feel. When I wrote it, I was a shy 16-year-old trying to imagine what it was like to tell someone that you love them. Now that I'm a shy adult, I think I have started to realize that it is as difficult as I thought to tell someone how you feel. But it is important. Disappointment is a universal experience. Or as Toby Nwigwe once said, the world is flawed. Though it's all Gucci, it's the same Dookie in different stalls. We all have metaphorical bowel movements in our lives, but I've found that for me, when I experience frustration or strong emotions, if I use that experience, it can become the best fertilizer to create something beautiful. When I talk about my feelings in a poem or song, I find it's very cathartic, and maybe the most rewarding when someone else relates with or finds some kind of value in the things I express. Now, metaphorical dookies of disappointment come from others, but some come from ourselves. And when we or our family are left to clean up the mess, we often experience regret. The next poem talks about that idea of taking disappointment and using it for something good. It talks about regrets and time travel. I hope you like it. Dodgeball.
2 words, dodgeball. It's easy to hear the call of the wild when you're wildly calling to all within your throwing range that they had better stay a stranger, because if they come within the danger of this war zone before I've thrown, they'll become acquainted with pain. It's another pleasant Saturday spent with sweat pouring into my eyes, disguising the world as a fiery inferno of death, and each fellow player a goblin king, worthy only to lose his breath to the vengeance of my rubber ball's sting. And in my periffs, I see his shape shift, the forces of darkness beginning to drift, calling for vengeance to rain down swift. So I turn my head and I crack my whip and I send my missile on its trip. But as the rubber leaves my hands, I see that that is not a man. It's a little girl, and she's not even playing. In fact, she's on the sidelines, because that's where she's staying to be safe in this wretched world that would throw a ball at the face of a girl. If only I could recall that torpedo of rage and save the sweet girl who sits there so brave, unaware of the rocket and unaware of the knave who fired the shot, sure to make her face concave. But sadly, my bullet planted its kiss between the eyes of that sweet little miss. They say that hindsight's 20/20, and I have regrets aplenty. I failed a test. I missed a shot. I didn't tell a girl that I think she's hot. Once I threw a dodgeball at my brother, only this one wasn't made of rubber, and words have been known to cause a sting much worse than an old rubber thing. They say that hindsight's 20/20, and I have regrets aplenty. And sometimes, I think that it's sad that we can't know the future before we act. But I'll tell you a secret, only known to few minds, that if you know how to do it, you can travel through time and change some events that are in your life. Just go to bed and close your eyes and wake up to a new sunrise in a different time and a different day, and change the things you were going to say to I love you, or I'm sorry, or I know I was wrong, or thank you for everything that you've done. And it's true that the past is dead and gone, so why do we sometimes let it live on, holding us hostage, hiding in our hearts, feeding on our fears and tearing us apart? If we were meant to live our lives in reverse, we'd be walking backwards. And I think that that's worse than if we sometimes stumble but still look to the skies. Use mistakes as your steps, and they'll help you to climb.
This next poem uses an idea that is a close cousin of regret: fear. Regret is worrying about the past. Fear is often worrying about the future. And that can be good. Fear, like pain, can lead us to avoid things that hurt. But the problem is that fear can also keep us from fully committing. When you perform a backflip, for instance, you have to fully commit. If you go for it and then decide halfway through that it's too scary, you're actually more likely to get hurt for two reasons. Number one, backflipping requires you to be in a vulnerable position where you are a few feet above the ground with your precious nog below all that body weight. Number two, backflipping requires momentum. When you decide to bail out halfway through, you're halting the very momentum that will safely carry you through that vulnerable position. Ironically, fear, the very thing that we have to keep us safe, sometimes can kick in and make our lives more dangerous. We can feel fear in physical situations, but we can also experience it in the relationships in our lives. But that momentum and vulnerability thing probably doesn't apply there, right? You decide. I hope you enjoy this next poem. It's called Love Languages.
She smiles. I smile. So, where are you from? My questions all sound dumb, but it's not because I'm not trying. I mean, I'm trying to impress her by taking her to the best restaurant and investing beyond the casual, obligatory entree and purchasing a big old confectionery dessert. But I'm flirting with danger because when the waiter sees that we've satiated ourselves on the savory flavor of meat, he pulls out the milk. And that's a behavior to which I'm intolerant. I'm intolerant to lactose. And who could have supposed that I would meet my icy arch nemesis here? Oh, ice cream, thou pure and peerless maiden that fills my soul with fear. Thou cantankerous muse whom I am bound by appetite to consume upon my lust. Maybe just one spoonful would be okay, but that's a dangerous game to play because within 10 minutes, I'm blowing up like a balloon on the inside. And in my chair, I tactfully scoot to hide the way my intestines are sliding, gliding around up and down like a trombone about to toot. But my greatest fear is that I'm rolling the dice with the spice, aka gamble gas. In other words, I don't know which state of matter I'm about to pass, but there's a real solid chance that that Pizookie just turned into a Pizoopie. But I'm sure of the fact that I need to act fast, so I'm thinking of the nearest toilet that I could crash, but I don't want to use the restaurant to dump and dash because the bathroom's too close. She might hear the splash, and I'd have to come back to give the waiter his cash, and how could I face her when I smell like that? But why, you might ask? Why do you even care? I mean, this is your first date. You hardly know the girl. You may never see her again. Well, that's just it. I don't care. This is my first date. I hardly know the girl. I may never see her again. I don't want to give her the impression that I'm more invested than I really am. Have you ever noticed that you never let your wild wind give you the slip unless you're hanging with humans who think that you're hip? You don't cast those pearly poots before swine. You're only cool to release the beast in front of your peeps. Please, don't stone me, but I think it's an expression of love and trust when someone's comfortable enough around us to just let them rip. And we all need and crave love. Our human condition puts us in this position, and some have a suspicion that when we perceive a changed disposition that leads us to think that there's been an attrition in love from our loved ones, that this supposition is a flawed and unrepresented cognition. It's called love languages. And it means that not everyone expresses their love in the same way. And it's strange to say that not everyone wants your hand to hold or to scratch their back. Some might want your pen to write delightful niceties, or your criticism to illuminate their flaws so they can grow better as they grow old. Other people want your mind and your time. They don't care about your money. And it's funny that some people love it when you buy them shoes because you know they like running. Some people just want your ears and your hearts to consume the stories of their scars and bruises. And it could be any combination of these because each person chooses how they want to be loved. So why do we sometimes hold it in? I mean, why do we keep it a secret? Are we afraid of what they might think? Or do we just not know that they may not know how to love us unless we tell them? Maybe the next time I think she's just not a good fit, I should ask the question, have I shown her my insides? I get it. It's stinky, it's unpleasant, and it's weird. And I don't know if gastrointestinal noises should be a love language or something to be feared. But I do know that it's sad when people try to save us from their insides. Please don't try to hide. If I truly love you and you love me, I want to hear the wrong notes, understand your broken past, see your anxiety, your OCD, your fears, and I'll love you. I want to hear about your acne, the dandruff, the warts on your feet. Let's hang out with your friends, because I want to meet the people who have shaped how you love. Tell me how to love you. And please, don't hide, because sometimes you have to smell the bitter to know the inside.
Some dookies are metaphorical, some are actual dookies. If all this talk is hitting a little too close to home, don't worry, we only have a few more minutes left till you can take care of your own business. So, with our last few minutes, I'm going to share one of my favorite songs with you, and I'm going to take you into the great outdoors for a bit while I play this song. And at the great risk of sounding like a hippie, I want you to focus on your breathing, maybe close your eyes for a little bit, and think about a relationship in your life. What about that person are you grateful for? And next, how do you want them to feel when you're around them? And lastly, what are you going to do to make them feel that way? Think about that during this next song.
I like to talk to you about big black clouds in the sky that's blue, and I think it's pretty when the snow falls on your face. It may be cold outside, but when I'm with you, the world feels like a much more beautiful and pleasant place. If your fingertips get cold, I'll melt them down. Whoa, if your fingertips get cold, I'll melt them down. Whoa, 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 whoa. Step too fast, but I thought I saw something that could last. So some things it did, I may have done in haste. If I step too fast, let me make amends. Just wanna say that I'm glad we're friends. We got our own drum, we can march at our own pace. If your heart gets cold, I'll melt it down. Whoa. If your heart gets cold, I'll melt it down. Whoa, 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 whoa. Thank you everybody for being here. I just wanted to say another plug for Jen and her Kickstarter. I think we all have heard the story of the guy who throws the what are they, starfish back into the ocean. I feel like every little bit helps, you know? So please look into that. I think we all appreciate her music, and it's well worth listening to. You know, she's streaming on a lot of services, Spotify, Apple Music, all that. You can listen to all her music that's out in those places. You can also listen to the songs that I played today. The songs that I played today, there. Yes, thank you. So we only have a little bit left, so we'll get on with it. But thank you again for being here.
This last poem is about beating the odds, and in an effort to cite my sources, I want to share with you an idea. Around 50% of marriages end in divorce. But nobody starts out their relationship thinking they want that as an outcome. This also happens to be one of my own personal fears, and at times it can feel paralyzing. Spoiler alert, John Gottman did a landmark study where he talks about being able to predict with over 90% accuracy which couples would get divorced and which couples would not. He found that there were 4 things that people could do that would help ensure that a relationship would succeed. Now, we can't and should not try to control others, and there's so much that's outside of our control, but there's also so much that's inside our control. There's so much that we can do, and we should focus on that. With intentional, committed communication and a little education, we don't need to be afraid. This poem is about how sometimes the statistics that people present us with don't tell the whole story. Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it will never happen. I hope you enjoy it. Statistics.
It's nighttime, and I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the dark, because in a given spot, it's just as likely as not that a zombie might pop out and start licking his chops. And before I could scream or get help by yelling that a zombie's trying to munch out my melon, I start running away, but too slowly it seems, and I wake up, and I realize it was just a bad dream. But reality's not always as great as it seems. Because I've seen that scene from Lord of the Rings, and no dream could be scarier than a spider that's hairier than Sasquatch, sitting there watching me from its asbestos-speckled spot on the ceiling of my apartment loft. And I lay with the monster an inch from my nose, and I curse the bunk bed that brought me this close to the ceiling, and I'm feeling it start to crawl on my ear. And at that moment, you'd think that the spider is my #1 fear. But you'd be wrong. Because I'm afraid of spiders and snakes and clowns and bats and psychopaths and matches and axes and when you're dating and you got flatulence and creepy sadistics. But none of those hold a candle to statistics. And I'm not talking about the mode, median, the mean, the regression, or the p-values. I mean, those can be scary, but I'll take quality over quantity any day. And that's why it's the content. It's the meaning behind the math that makes me gasp. For instance, has anyone ever told you your shooting average right before you take a free throw? All right, you're hitting 13% of those out there. Go get them. I mean, that's not helpful. So it's no wonder to me that people have trouble making big decisions when the internet says that 95% of diets fail, or that 50% of Americans are dissatisfied with their jobs, or that 76% of statistics are made up on the spot. But this one I got from the American Psychological Association, so it should be legit. They say that 50% of marriages end in divorce. Are they trying to tell me that I'm just playing the slots with my future, that I'm flipping a coin, hoping my marriage lands on heads? Because if someone hands me a gun with 50% of the bullets in, I'm not going to pull that trigger. But that statistics are bad is not what I imply. I'm just saying if you let them live your life, then your life will be dry. Because man cannot live by statistics alone. And there's a difference between what we do and don't know. History is saturated with people whose minds were maturated beyond their times, sublimely entwining their tiny knowledge with creativity and hope as onlookers joked about their mental proclivity. But who's got the last laugh? Because it turns out that E really does equal MC squared. And the way that the planets move is contrary to the way that we used to believe. So don't listen to the Pharisees and Sadducees. Think of Snuggies, space travel, America, Everest, 9-volt batteries, people shattering records that were impossible to break. They're now broken. So if you tell me that I have a 1% chance, I'll tell you that randomization does not determine my destiny, and magic 8 balls don't apply to me. So don't tell my future, because desire is a lurking variable, and I am not a statistic. Thank you, everyone, very much, everybody, for being here, braving the coronavirus to come. We appreciate you leaving your homes and just being here physically. It's nice to have people. And thank you to everyone who's watching digitally. We appreciate you as well. And huge thank you again to the Hive and everyone who helped produce this show. Thanks, yeah. And also to Jen Blossel. She's so good. I like honestly would come to this show even if I wasn't performing just to watch her. Last thing, we just want you to know that in 2 weeks on May 29th, it'll be a Friday, we're doing this again. It'll be episode 2 of Smooth Grooves and the Spoken Word. So be there or be square, but you should be hip, not square. So yeah, that's it. And I just want to say until then, don't forget that love is the answer. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Yeah.